Right now on Wake Up, getting set for the swearing in. We've got live team coverage on today's inauguration.
From the final preps to what to expect in the complete schedule of events, Wake Up has you covered. See the locals who are getting a first-hand look at today's ceremony. Helena Shapiro gives us a look at what they're up to in D.C.
And it's a little bit foggy and a little bit dreary out there this morning. Coming up, I'll let you know if there's the potential for some black ice as you head out the door.
And ready to rally. The message this morning from Western New Yorkers headed to Washington for tomorrow's big Women's March. The three things they're bringing with them as News 4 Wake Up continues.
Live in high definition. This is Western New York's news leader. Now, News 4's Wake Up.
Good morning. Welcome to our special coverage of today's inauguration. I'm Jordan Williams.
And I'm Brittany Smallwood. If you're getting ready to head out the door, I want to let you know, I think today's the first day since about Wednesday or Tuesday that we didn't have to use our windshield wipers this morning. Kaylee Wendt is here with the forecast.
That's right, Brittany. We didn't have to use our windshield wipers yet, but later on in the day today, we are going to have to turn them back on, unfortunately. Again, this morning, it's a little bit damp out there still from those showers overnight. Dry, at least from the sky, but on the roadways, still pretty damp. And with temperatures close to that freezing point, we are looking at the potential for some black ice. Now, it's mainly south of the city of Buffalo, so areas north at this point don't have to worry about it. But again, if you're waking up anywhere south of the city, make sure you plan some extra time for that commute. And it's not only the black ice that we're watching this morning, it's visibilities. Now, fog has been significantly decreased across the area. You'll notice the southern tier seeing down near zero visibility in Jamestown, Olean, Wellsville. Bradford and Cottersport have seen some slight improvements, but it's not just the southern tier, not isolated at all. Notice up into Orleans, Genesee, and Wyoming County, those visibilities staying close to about a mile. So I think everywhere this morning going to be dealing with some patchy, dense fog. If you're doing any traveling along the 290, the 190, the 990, definitely going to be a concern. It's areas south of Buffalo that will start to see the rain showers move in a little bit sooner, possibly by the end of that early morning commute. For the rest of us, staying dry, but again, pretty foggy as we move into the morning hours. Temperatures now in the mid to lower 30s, depending on where you're waking up. Buffalo is at 36 degrees, but notice those temperatures in the southern tier below freezing, and that's why the black ice, for now at least, is isolated to those areas. So coming up in my full forecast, we're going to talk about the fog, how long it sticks around, but we're also going to show you when that widespread rain does build into the area. First, it starts south of the city and then makes its way further north. We'll time out the arrival for each individual city coming up.
A couple of days after the election, and it showed the red counties, blue counties, and the entire country practically, other than a couple of little points, was red. That was some big victory. That was some big.
Donald Trump and his family are already celebrating today's big day. On the eve of the ceremony, he spoke at a candlelight dinner at Union Station. Today, the world will watch as he takes the presidential oath and makes his first address as president of the United States.
And people in Washington, D.C. have been preparing for this for weeks. As thousands of people pour into the city, law enforcement has been increased to accommodate the crowd. While officials say there's no specific or credible threat against the event, 31,000 law enforcement officers, along with 5,000 National Guardsmen, will be on the ground, in the air, and patrolling rivers.
And here is what they will be guarding: the ceremony itself. We have four things you need to know about this morning's inauguration. Things began around 9:30 with the choir of Washington National Cathedral performing. Once everyone is seated, expect several performances and speeches to continue throughout the morning.
Mike Pence will take the vice presidential oath at 11:35. Then the presidential oath for Donald Trump will be administered at 11:47. Several minutes after that, he will deliver his inaugural address.
Clearly, they have this carefully timed, right? Then there's a packed afternoon with a signing ceremony, a signing room ceremony, a luncheon, a presentation of gifts and toasts. And then at 2:45, Trump and Pence will leave with the parade. Of course, we've got Alina there. We're going to hear more from her in just a minute about the Western New York connection. elections. There's a lot of focus beyond what happens today, and that's what's coming in D.C. tomorrow. Hundreds of Buffalo women will leave later today to head to Washington.
And they'll be among hundreds of thousands of people expected to participate in the Women's March tomorrow. News 4's Ali Ingersoll is in the studio with their message. Ali?
Brittany and Jordan, women from all walks of life, from areas all around the country, including right here in Western New York, will be in Washington, D.C. this weekend, walking for equal rights. It started as a march against President-elect Donald Trump. Those going to the march say it's now about something much bigger. Hundreds of thousands of women will be banding together, standing and marching on the nation's capital. It's expected to be one of the largest rallies in D.C. since former President Nixon's inauguration. Supporters say this rally is about making change, defending human rights, and demanding justice and equality for all.
Coming to the march isn't it. It's what we do after it's over.
If we don't speak up and speak out, I mean, it'll become unbearable in our society. And I think we all have to peacefully represent what's right.
Amazing. There's a sister march planned for here in Buffalo as well for those who can't make it to the march in D.C. That's starting at 12:30 on Delaware Avenue tomorrow afternoon. It's one of many set to take place in all 50 states and 32 countries all around the world. In the studio, Ali Ingersoll, News 4 Wake Up.
All right, Ali, and as we mentioned, News 4 is in Washington this morning so that we can share the stories of Western New Yorkers who were there for Donald Trump's inauguration.
News 4's Nalina Shapiro caught up with some local leaders with what they hope to see today. She continues our team coverage.
Good morning from the nation's capital. Hundreds of Western New Yorkers are here to witness a uniquely American celebration, the 58th inauguration for the 45th President of the United States. We will be in the center of all of it today when Donald Trump takes the presidential oath of office and Mike Pence takes the vice presidential oath of office at the home of the legislature. From the moment I boarded the plane, the emotion surrounding this day was obvious. I met two women who couldn't contain their excitement for today. Well, today I will be hearing from Buffalo State students as well, a young history buff from our area, and Western New Yorkers who just wanted to be a part of history, even if they don't agree with everything Trump says. This day is about the people, and today we will be with so many of them, Western New Yorkers excited to witness history. Do not miss my live reports tonight on News 4 at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock, and follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Reporting from our nation's capital, Nalina Shapiro, News 4 Wake Up.
All right, Nalina, and coming up in about 10 minutes, we are going to go back live to Washington, D.C. to visit with our national correspondent. What we expect to hear, the specifics of Trump's inaugural address, and we're also going to get into the mood this morning in Washington with everyone there.
And remember, News 4 will be working around the clock today to keep you updated with everything happening in Washington. So be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be tweeting and posting the latest news from the inauguration. Our handle is at News 4 Buffalo.
We are only 19 days into the month of January, and we've already had 19 overdose deaths.
Deadly trends spiking again as Erie County continues battling the opioid epidemic. As you just heard from the DA, so far 19 people, 19 families are dealing with losses. Those people have died from drug overdoses.
And the people on the front line have seen this before, so they're working to combat the problem. At a news conference yesterday, their message was loud and clear: dealers beware. Erie County's newly elected district attorney, John Flynn, announced the appointment of an entire unit to police the growing problem. He also added another attorney to the narcotics team. Flynn says his office will work with addicts who've committed petty, nonviolent crimes to get them into treatment rather than just sending them to jail.
We are only 19 days into the month of January, and we've already had 19 overdose deaths. That is unacceptable, that is tragic, and we as public officials have an obligation to try and do something about this. When I was in the office,
because they're just shifting resources and focusing on one particular crime, Flynn says the new attorney will not be an added cost to the department.
Officers in Niagara Falls could use your help this morning. They say someone hit a teenager who was riding a bike yesterday and then drove off. This was in the 1100 block of Ontario Avenue around 3 in the afternoon. A 19-year-old man taken to ECMC. Police say he got hit by someone who was driving a dark-colored car. We have the numbers on the screen, 286-4711, if you can help.
Cheektowaga police say this man used force to rob someone last week. This picture was taken in a parking lot of a local store last Thursday. Police say this is a black man between 45 and 55 years old. You're asked to call Cheektowaga police if you think you can help.
All right, 5:09 on this inaugural Friday, and our coverage of the inauguration continues in just minutes as we head live back to Washington, D.C. this morning.
We'll take a look at what's on the agenda for the big day. We'll chat with Alex Schumann in Washington, D.C. in just a few minutes.
And there's a little bit of fog that we need to be concerned about for that morning commute. I'll let you know which areas will be the likely hardest hit and when the fog will finally burn off.
And at 5:30, the battle for bus routes. The metro city where residents say the service just isn't acceptable. Hear their complaints and the response from the NFTA.
Home Decor Outlets free-for-all. Queen two-sided pillow top mattresses, only $3.99. Includes free steel bed frame, down pillow, and wall art. Steel deal is back. Bed frame starting at $9.99. Only at Home Decor Outlets.
The Toyota RAV4 Hybrid has what it takes to beat the competition in winter driving. In AMCI testing, the RAV4 Hybrid XLE delivers better overall performance on snow and ice than the Subaru Forester and the Honda CR-V. Better braking, better handling, better acceleration. Plus, RAV4 Hybrids come with all-wheel drive standard. The RAV4 Hybrid is ready for winter. Are you? Tested, trusted Toyota. See it now at buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
When winter hits, no card is more powerful than a AAA card. Because it's not just a free towing card, a free fuel delivery, free lockout service, and free tire change card, or a get a battery installed in my driveway card. It's a get all that and more no matter what the weather card. A get back on the road card, a get on with my day card. And now it's a card you can get for less than $5.50 a month. So get the card that'll keep you going this winter and discover a new way to AAA.
There's one state that has more ski mountains to choose from than any other in the country. And that's not the only thing you can only find in New York State. You can find it all, only in New York. New York, it's all here. It's only here. Plan your winter getaway at iloveny.com.
Home Decor Outlets free-for-all. Deluxe sofa, only $3.99. Includes free three-piece rug set, three-piece table set, and designer lamp. Wide selection of sofas and sectionals from $1.99 each piece. Only at Home Decor Outlets.
On this morning's community calendar, you and your family can enjoy some roller derby action this week. The Queen City Rollers season opener is tonight. Battling it out for the first win of the year, the 2016 Queen City Cup champions, the Devil Dollies, will go head-to-head against last year's runner-up, the Alley Cats. It starts at 7 o'clock tonight at Buffalo Riverworks. Tickets are $15 at the door. Here's Kaylee with the forecast.
Yeah, but we're waking up to some areas with significantly decreased visibility. That means some pretty dense fog. At this point, it does look a little bit patchy in nature. You'll notice the thick of it mainly across the southern tier and the state line where visibilities are down below a mile. So you'll need to definitely slow down on roadways for that early commute this morning. The further north you travel, the less dense it does become. But no matter where you're traveling this morning, there is going to be a little bit of that fog out there. So I wanted to give you a look. Temperatures, of course, in the next couple of hours going to remain in the mid-30s. As we travel throughout the later portions of the morning, the temperature will climb into the upper 30s, eventually topping out in the mid to upper 40s today. The bad news of this forecast, though, is that we're going to be seeing some pretty widespread heavy rain move into the area. Coming up in just a little while, we'll time out the arrival of that rain.
Thank you, Kaylee. This morning, all eyes are on Washington, D.C., where in a few hours, Donald Trump will take the oath of office as the country's 45th president.
Today's transition marks a moment in American history. A billionaire businessman, not a politician, will become the country's next CEO and commander-in-chief.
Our national correspondent, Alex Schumann, is live in Washington, D.C., where the crowds will be pouring in from all over the country. Good morning, Alex. What's the mood like in Washington this morning?
Good morning, Brittany. The mood is there's a lot of excitement. People are very excited to see what's going to happen today. The inauguration is, of course, a tradition here in Washington, but today will certainly have a different feel. We're waiting to see exactly how many people end up showing up for today's festivities, and we will, of course, be watching closely to see what Donald Trump does just moments after taking the oath. The stage is set, security is tight, and in a few hours, Donald Trump will become America's 45th president. Arriving in D.C. on Thursday, Trump is wasting no time making himself at home. His staff gave us a preview of what we'll hear in his first address to the nation.
It's going to be a very personal and sincere statement about his vision for the country. I think it's going to be less of an agenda and more of a philosophical document.
By late today, Congress and the new administration will be moving fast to roll back several of President Obama's executive orders and legacy policies. But some Democrats tell us they hope Trump offers an agenda open to all Americans.
That he stands up and says, I understand 55% of the public voted against me, but I'm their president. I want to work with them.
But today is not all about work. Mr. Trump will enjoy front row seats to a parade in his honor, several balls across D.C., and of course the unique experience of walking into the White House as a resident for the first time.
We are all ready to go to work. In fact, we can't wait to get to work for the American people to make America great again.
The president-elect will be heading to the White House this morning to meet with the Obamas before they depart together to the Capitol. The swearing-in is set to begin at 12 noon on the dot, with Chief Justice John Roberts leading the ceremony. Jordan and Brittany?
You know, traditionally, these inaugural addresses kind of set the tone for the new administration. What is the expectation? What do people think Mr. Trump's going to say today?
Well, you got a little bit of an idea from the future White House press secretary there, saying that we're going to hear more big ideas than specifics. We also have been told that the speech is going to be really short, about 20 minutes, or at least short for an inaugural address. Now, one thing to watch in terms of trying to predict the future is also to look at the past. Donald Trump is a man that reacts in the moment. He likes to please a crowd, and we are expecting for there to be some protesters there today, so he may end up reacting to that, or he may go for some of his big applause lines that he used at those campaign events.
And Alex, we know that security is very tight right now, so what's it like where you are? I'm sure it's very tough to get around.
Yeah, it took about, 20 minutes to get in here where we are. We're a couple of blocks from the U.S. Capitol. What they've done is they've shut down the entire National Mall and Pennsylvania Avenue between the White House and the U.S. Capitol where the parade's going to go. And that pretty much cuts the city in half. There are fencings up everywhere. Police is pretty much everywhere you look. They've also taken city buses, parked them front to back to form barricades and walls in certain areas. So you just can't get through unless you have the proper pass. Or, because a lot of people can't even get into certain parts of the National Mall without the correct pass.
Gotcha. All right, just huge security there. Alex Schumann, live, our national correspondent in D.C. this morning with some interesting insights on the inauguration. Thank you, sir.
And remember, News 4 will have your complete coverage of today's ceremony. Nalina Shapiro is in Washington and will give us updates throughout the day. Also, remember, you can check out all of our coverage online at WIVB.com as well.
And Britt, when we return, I was going to say Kaylee is tracking the weather for today's in Washington. Wake Up continues in 2 minutes.